You know, I made it a point to say we hope to see you after this break. You almost didn't see us after that break, by all things. It's never really worked that way for us. That was kind of a new experience. So apologies, everybody. Things happen behind the scenes for production. We don't blame anybody. We just blame the internet providers. That's really what I usually jump to first and foremost. But who knows? It could have been a solar aurora that comes in at the last moment and spikes something out of the way. But I look into seeing how spiky the kill feed's going to look on a map like Haven. We already saw just how good it was in the previous series yesterday to end off our second series of the day. Let's see if it's going to be just as good for this one. Right after this, it's Boise State still trying to get their first map win here against Stony Brook.
Yeah, I mean, a great opener here from Stony Brook. I mean, obviously, when people think about programs and think about the kind of caliber of teams, you're thinking, oh, Boise State should be a wrap for this one. But I mean, that's just not the case. I mean, when you look at the kind of teams that are here, when you look at the caliber of everybody, I mean, that's D1. That's what we're looking for. We're looking to provide these kinds of games to you. We're looking to provide these kinds of matchups. And, well, Stony Brook is already going ahead and providing right off the get-go, making sure to find themselves a nice game one. They won in 13-10 fashion. And, I mean, it was obviously barn burned to some degree, but it was more so just kind of playing a game of catch up there by Boise State, where they were always looking so darn close. And they even had it once or twice with a tie game, but it just wasn't enough to close out because, well, the half was 6-6. The end was 13-10. And that's all that matters, man. Map count, I mean, sure, you can look at scores or see coaches and, org guys just looking at, okay, well, things look good here. But not everybody's going to look at the semantics. We're just watching the stream. You got students looking at it, and nobody's talking about Tyreek Hill's catch from the game. They say, oh, they just lost. And that's all that really matters.
Do you know he hasn't caught a 30-yard plus catch in 2 years? That's crazy to me.
Yeah, he's still paid millions.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So, I mean, that's the thing, man.
He's got one up on us. By the way, we're seeing something interesting here. It's actually Yoru and Neon for both sides. Well, Neon, no, it's been over to the Jet for Skies, but we're seeing the Yoru and another duelist, which is the thing. You typically see the Yoru and ISO as kind of the big two between those two sides. And that was one of the things we saw on our series yesterday on Haven in map 3. And then we saw just a single duelist for the other end. And that was Dez on that Neon, who just tore apart using that fast lane as an effective way to get their team forward as a dash method into C-site, both in offense and defense, as well as a way to bait out their pushes as well to distract and force players over and force the overcommitment to the opposing end. It worked. We're going to have to see if Rookie can pull that same thing off, or if Sky is here, still playing to the status quo of that Jet, will still be able to be a strong suit for the team, because Skies was really darn good, and we're expecting to see that continue. But I mentioned a lot of it, saying that the more equipped team on map 1 for Abyss looked like Stony Brook. They had the Sentinels that locked things down. They were hard to push past. Their utility just felt like they were constantly using it, and it was always effective when it was being used. And that was such a thorn, pun intended for Vise, in Boise State's side. They didn't really have that. I don't know how much the double duelist did in full effect. We're going to have to hope that Haven, with both sides having the double duelist, will be that game changer, the difference maker for Boise State.
Just seeing really what Boise State's providing to the table. I mean, they got enough here to work with. I mean, knowing that obviously Skies on the Jet has been looking good during that map number 1, but had to have the operator in hand to really become an impact there, I think. I mean, obviously had a couple moments here and there, but I mean, compared to what we saw Rookie doing, I mean, Rookie just had more of that kind of duelist play, looking to go ahead, get in the fray, find those kills, and we saw those cumulative kind of strings accumulate more and more and more. So, I mean, you're not looking for, just highlights alone inside duelists. You're looking for that consistency of those, and we definitely did see a bit more of that out of Stony Brook. So especially starting off on the attacking side of things, that's where you're going to see these duels really start to step up. But the one thing I'm looking at as well, obviously, of what I could label as the MVP of map number 1 being Majestic on the Omen now, kind of taking a step back, not being that Sentinel, not being that duelist either, just looking to kind of be in more of a sneaky position where you can really start to keep things rolling. And I would love to see how much you can really compare just remaining to stay on that same agent as last time. But Abel's the one kicking things into high gear to kick things off first, knowing that, I mean, a great first shot. Looked like an absolute drive-by. Issue is, we're going to put that car in reverse, take it to another site because, well, A is not looking hot for that one.
No, and it's going to be a push through garage. 3 players there, 1 active down C long. Yu's going to try to make sure nobody can peek out from back behind sights. It's a quick rush, though, for Majestic, wanting to close that gap. Master up on tubes, though. Really the person to shut down Rookie, and there it is. 1 more to the tally. Abel just can't contend, and Stony Brook had a player advantage for a little bit there, but these players sneakily hiding, and those angles just not being cleared by the Stony Brook roster now leave it to a 2 versus 1 with Boise State holding that numerical lead, and they didn't even really need to see Skeleton Genesis rotate away from that A side, and with the way that they're looking, you'd almost question if they're DC. They're just standing there for so long, watching the angle through A long, and they very well could be. See the shot go. Yep, there it is. Gunny gets their third. Yippee Calais, it's all good and done. I think they're going to replay that round, though, to get it restarted, I'm assuming. Assuming that's why we do this, to get that player in. Maybe they've been DC'd the whole time and begging to get it started. No matter the case, let's be honest here. Boise State did a damn good job on defense, lacking a player like that and fighting a 4v5. They probably could have even clutched up the 1v1 there. I mean, why not chance it? At least they practice. Come on.
Yeah, I think Daimyo definitely could have had that one there to work with and make the pause after the fact. But, I mean, still, consider that, looking for fairness at the end of it. I mean, the big thing, though, obviously, knowing that strats weren't really exposed because in round one we just saw, hey, let's go A. Hey, that did not work. So let's split up somewhere else. But that drive-by also seemed a bit unfair. So I would like to see a second shot at that one. But all things considered, Haven being that number 2 here, like I said earlier, I was looking at Majestic. I was expecting maybe a bit more of a lineup. That Chamber obviously not being nearly as quintessential or necessitated as a pick there. But still, very viable, all things considered. Knowing that this map is nothing but just really long lanes heading into these sites, and you know that, okay, once again, it's playing that game of gambles once more, where do we go over towards the narrow lane that is C or the narrow lane that is A? And, well, Chamber, he's watching at least the entry of one of those, and that's where the kind of things start to unravel. So, it's shocking, but, it's comfortable if he's obviously picking that instead. So I'm looking forward to see, as I said, that matchup, knowing that they were both star players in terms of the frags, but Daimyo seems to kind of fit that Omen pocket a little more. Knowing that, seeing the consistency between maps and playing for both of them, it makes more sense that this is probably what this guy plays full time.
You touched on something in between, at the start when we came back from that elongated break, right? Saying you would expect Boise State, with how recorded, how accoladed their program is, to be this big giant and go through, and then Stony Brook being able to take a map off like that and win that. You're like, oh, if you're looking at it from the outside in, you'd be like, this is kind of strange. But honestly, with the way that Valorant has been for the last few years, Dallas, correct me if I feel wrong, but it doesn't feel like those teams or those programs that have extreme accolades, right? Boise State is an unbelievably accoladed program, and they have so much wild success across multiple titles, but they still don't have that much of an advantage, or really an advantage against a lot of these teams in the collegiate ecosystem for Valorant. And it's this weird state for Val, right? It doesn't really matter if you've got a lot of history, if you're a major program or things like that. Almost anybody can compete. It's just a difference of who you can get that outreach for, who you can get to step into, who you're recruiting for it. And honestly, I joked about it on the Tilt Proof podcast. Like, I made a college football reference. Some teams that are like middle of the pack collegiate are hunting for that Cam Newton, the one that just blows everything out of the water, carries a nothing burger team to a national championship, and then goes to the NFL Super Bowl 2 years after that, right? Like, you're looking for that player. And we're trying to see if anyone here in Division 1 that aren't the Winthrops, that aren't the Maryvilles, that aren't the St. Clairs, are going to be capable of finding those players, and I'm keeping my eye out. Des right now has improved rapidly, like a beast, in between where I saw them last and the way that I saw them yesterday. Right now, for these two teams, we're trying to keep an eye out for them. Majestic, you said, highlight player. They were the player of the match in map 1, for sure. Keep an eye on Majestic for the rest of this one, but we need to find one for Boise State more specifically. Somebody's going to step up, and I'm hoping it's going to be somebody that can actually continue to do that and take that weight to levy this team up to that next position.
I want to say it was still Daimyo for map number 1. That's why I'm talking about that matchup specifically. The guy was everywhere, an absolute nuisance, not only playing towards coming back through that spawn, but definitely wrapping the entire map, having that awareness of just seemingly knowing where everyone is at all times, and just, instead of really pushing the agenda and saying, making these calls and calling players to push up, just taking it easy. The game plan is there. Instead of just kind of making sure to call the plays there, just making sure that you're on adjustments, and knowing that even then, that the trust putting to you as an individual, that you can just slip right into that plan, right into that agenda, right into between those lines to a degree where you never even notice the differences that he's made. He's like your peer reviewer, where everything looks good. He's like, but this could use a little bit of work. You got to throw me in there. And it always looks better by the end of it. So I'm curious to see what can really surmount from that. Because that last round is, we see it there. Wasn't replayed. Stony Brook ended up winning that one.
And Daimyo as well, it's a lot of history for this Boise State roster. I was doing a lot of player research prior to this in the Tilt Proof podcast. I was seeing pictures on their social media of them, standing in the background. Boise's got players up on their stage. I've been on that stage. It's great. Playing Valorant, and they're trying to guide them along the way, watching and taking pictures. Really cool to see. And now being able to play like this and perform like this, I was expecting nothing less from this player. And it was half the joke of saying, hey, put Daimyo up as our player to watch because we know they'd be good, but we just didn't have somebody for Stony Brook to really turn the other way, which is why we went a little bit more for the quirky whimsy of let's get some fun IGNs before we can really pull those players out to highlight them come the start of next week when we turn into that next weekend. But look at the slow, methodical approach now for Stony Brook. They were given that first round win, both Daimyo and their Sova DC'd, by the way, which is why that we had to cut there. They could not roll it back. Damage was done, so they were given that first round as expected, but they are playing still kind of passive considering that they do have weapons and forced up for round 2. They're still trying to play to the strengths of what they have, and they're using Tonkatoni, who only has a sheriff, to get as much information and claim as much control down through B, and not only nets themselves a frag, but look, free spike plant. And Boise State, who put so many eggs in the proverbial basket of Seaside, now need to step over towards B, and they're trying to do so through courtyard, through that garage door, and they're now being forced to flush back. Gunning a weird shot with a bulldog to the head of Master. Cost goes down from Abel, and Skellis is the only one to find a kill, though. Now gaining a bulldog could make damage and make it worth it. You gotta make them pay the price, but it's only going to do for 2, and it will be a second round now for Stony Brook.
I mean, up there to really kind of carry on to the next one. I mean, a good look to have 3 players standing by the end of that. I mean, still, though, Boise State, I kind of like the answer there, knowing that they're not really kind of overcommitting to either side. They're just making sure to kind of stay around the map, because that was a big falter we saw for them early when it came around to Abyss. They were overcommitting on these sites. They were overcommitting on the rotates. And instead of really just saying, hey, we're going to go here, they just like to kind of recollect themselves back towards spawn. They like to go ahead and play a little more passive. Know that, I mean, the S key is on their keyboard. And even if you don't have a keycap on it, you still should know by this point where it is. So they're making sure to exercise it to some degree, making sure that it's not called running away, it's called a tactical retreat. And well, the interpretation of that really depends on whether or not you find success.
It's an old country song, no one to hold them, no one to fold them. That's like that, right? Everything can be done in moderation and not be deemed as a failure or hesitation. Fall back when necessary. Abel, though, holding out with this outlaw. We saw this before. It was at least effective for one last round. Just trying to make sure all the way down through A long is safe. Tonkatoni once again with a player to prowl through here into B. As you'd expect from a Cypher for a map like this, we see this plenty of times, Dallas. But the team for Stony Brook will have weapons that maybe aren't the best deal that Boise State were going to buy for round 3. But the damage just doesn't get done disguised in the way that Tonkatoni would have wanted. But it does give them full sight control as the team of Boise State are trying to hunt for this player and sacrifice time in the process of doing so. Spike goes down. Skellis is up above. Very low on HP, mind you, but the dark cover keeps them back, and Skies gets punished. Not being able to fall back in time. Tonkatoni through the garage door, the mid doors, the window. Able to secure. Cost, though, 2 phantom shots galore. Master with a Vandal to find one more, and Tonkatoni only has a single teammate to help, and that teammate's at least able to carry themselves in good composure to shut down that spike diffuser. Tonkatoni can't survive the onslaught of Vandal rounds through the box, and it's up to Abel alone, and they do tap the body of Master, but it's a 140 to the body, and that 10 HP leaves Master standing to get that defuse through.
It's one of those things where you're really hoping Tony was going to swing out there, or at least just kind of hold a bit of a steeper angle, just kind of taking those fights, because, I mean, you want to make sure to kind of push that spike. You want to keep the attention there because, well, those gun barrels are going to stick out, or even then, better yet, in this kind of situation where you don't have time to check every single corner, you just wallbang every single crate you see in sight. So, I mean, it's one of those things there where Stony Brook, I mean, obviously an unfortunate situation to be in there in the first place, but I mean, still an admirable attempt regardless, knowing that they found themselves those first couple kills. But I mean, after that, things didn't exactly dismantle. They just looked to kind of slow down. So knowing they had the guns in a round like this, seeing what they can really accomplish going next, Boise State being happy with all the players that were remaining after the fact. I mean, this is one of those things where we have to look at the adjustments being made on the map specifically, as we already see a very early give up on A, where Boise State's kind of repeating what we saw previously. They just give these things up. But, I mean, it's not one of those things where Stony Brook can kind of capitalize on that like we saw on Abyss, because it's a much bigger run, and you can't see your Neon kind of really giving up the rest of the pack.
Guy's trying to fall back. Doesn't have a little bit of assistance from a tripwire, but using that cloud burst to cut off sight lines. Gunny, though, has no problem seeing Master.
Reload gave you everything.
You have to get away. There it is. Skies falling back all the way into Seaside. If you're Stony Brook, you made a little bit of headway that way, but you still need to fall back to that. Skelesis is here. Skelesis knows one's there, and then the team was coming and struggling for a bit there, Dallas, to collect the shots, but does get it done, and it's up to Daimyo now alone. Quick rushes and a sprint from the Neon. They're nearly a distraction. The relay bolt for the stun, and Rookie tears apart Daimyo's HP, stuns and vandals to do so. And it's a spike now, able to go down for Stony Brook, and Boise State have a meager 2 of Skies and Cost to try to reclaim this site. And I had a bit of a spat with nerds yesterday talking about the replayability and the retakeability of this objective. You need ultimates, you need utility, and that's just not in the pocket. Nothing's refreshing here for Boise State. They don't have anything to work with. It's a dry push, and Majestic just got a ton of information with that Stratus Step peek for info. Rookie playing the cross. Majestic gets the first, and Abel cleans up after the refrag. Stony Brook get 3.
I mean, just capitalizing on what they got to work with here. I mean, can't really blame them. Seeing what they done in that last round. I mean, good looks across the board. But I mean, even then, Boise State giving it the A site, but even more so, Skelesis not really having the trigger discipline. I mean, you saw it there. One player running up, but then it was just 2 more right behind him, back to back. What could have been a free little lineup there. But I mean, still, I get it. The guys have been playing a lot more Valorant than I have, and I mean, it really comes down to the individual circumstance. Some people get trigger discipline moments. Some players just never get the luck of it because, you know, by the end of it, that one guy turns around and you get absolutely nothing at all. It's just God timing to a T. Yeah, I mean, so things like that are bound to happen, but even then, still, whether or not things are active or whether things are relatively quiet, you can still squeak something out. We saw Skelesis do it, and now Master able to do it right here, right now.
Fortunately, it's still an eco round for Boise State. They don't really have anything, and that's why Daimyo is prowling about now with the classic. Shrouded Step to avoid the tripwire. You get a player now just behind you, and I think they're aware. There's the visual. Monkatoni has no problem cleaning up for the kill. Though it is still Skies that finds the next one. Even with the limited weapons, Gunny on site has a weapon able to take down Master, but Skelis' Spectre is still effective despite the range disparity, and it's Boise State coming away with a lot more than expected despite the difference in weapons. And now it's a spray through for Tonkatoni. Skelis has stuck this one to half. Probably going to continue to do so, but that's down and they line up. It's 4. Big Tonkatoni. Put some respect on the name, and Stony Brook get yet another one to their name.
I'm really shocked we didn't see that second cage being put there as like a live ping for the spike. We have seen Cyphers kind of be able to make that adjustment because I know you give Cypher all the praise in the world, but it's one of those things where we talk about players and the removal of live pings inside the match where they use those cages as pings, as live markers of where the spike was put down. And that's one of those things where you could have said, that's the freest spray in my life because you're going to be right there on top of it. But, I mean, doesn't even really need it there, considering the kind of weaponry at hand for both those sides. You know, with that Phantom in hand, you have more than likely an advantage in the eco round. And, well, with the damage done, it should be the kills. Stony Brook, not good with just that. They want more. A nice little opener there, getting some damage on the Skies, but with the player with the boomstick in hand, there's still the potential. It only takes one shot by him, but when you have a pixel pick like that, you don't even get a chance to take the shot.
Yeah, put an end to that. No chance for it here. Boise State are once again on the defensive with a player problem in their hands. Yeah. And Stony Brook go, hey, we won that. I'm getting the heck out of here. Why do I got to stay off towards A? Somebody else could pick up that operator, and that could be just as much of a threat in anyone else's hands instead of just that Jet. And Rookie will lay up that fast lane to get the team safely on over towards site. Now clearing through the back. No one on plat, no one on tube. Hey guys, I think we got sight here. That is in fact the case. Gunny will be forced off of the plant. Will survive the initial shots here for the Hunter's Fury. Now baiting for the third one out, and unfortunately teeters back a little bit to the right. And the aim is off. But it does give time for Boise State to pivot back on over towards that seaside. But if you're Stony Brook, you genuinely don't have to commit to the seaside just yet. You've got 40 seconds, and it doesn't take long to rotate between objectives. You could just push straight through that defender's side, take the fight to them, and get these frags, and it's exactly what they're doing. 2 more to the name. They've got defender spawn. They could rotate if they like to. They now know where Koss is, and they'll plant this in a way that they can hold defender side instead and keep that link under their claimant control. It's just a question of where Master is, because you know where Koss. Master spotted. Doesn't stop the fact they'll still remove Majestic from the equation. And now Master and Cause will both come from the exact same line of sight, direct from on site. Rookie does deal with the Cypher, but Master is still prowling, and now is running of ammo, but this Vandal needs to reload. Classic in hand, both players are low. All right, could do it, and there's it from Master. changing out the weaponry. Does it have ammo? Will have 10 bullets to do so. Where, oh, where is Gunny hiding? And the Hunter's Fury, rushing Master has to go. Takes the shot, but it's moving and can't connect in time. The time wouldn't have mattered anyways. And Stony Brook, change the game. Patience is key. They get it done.
I love how just scrappy these kind of rounds get when you look at these two. I mean, obviously the score differential doesn't tell you, but I mean, there's just these points where you know how equally matched some of these guys are, and they just got to really pull out whatever they can. And Boise State, unfortunately, I mean, they made a really good attempt with what was kind of essentially nothing for him there. I mean, obviously, Koss in a bad situation, the entire team seemingly chasing him down. And even then, I mean, you look at the kind of roundabout for Master saying, I'm back towards C Long. I'm a man on an island, but I own this island, darn it. I mean, able to kind of get something running there, but still Stony Brook. It's just 5-1. Things are just getting bigger and bigger of a differential between them all. But, I mean, we saw Boise State win one eagle already. So, I mean, there's a shot they can do it again.
Wow, that classic his full head, but Rookie is still sitting at a plenty fine HP until Daimyo gets the Sheriff a hold of him. Yeah. Stony Brook relying on Tonka Tough there at the end to secure themselves the last two, and they'll even get the spike money on top of it. It's just this huge battle right now for Stony Brook, where every gunfight's conceivably going their way. The only time we've seen Boise State really collect a large amount of kills is when their position has already been completely torn asunder, and they don't really have a solid foot to stand on. Stony Brook's already with full players on site. You force them off a little bit with a Hunter's Fury, maybe use some dark covers and some paranoias to maybe flush them away. You keep them off of it. Hey, they haven't planted, but they still have all 5 players sitting on site, and you've got 3. What are you to do? And they aren't really actively playing with that because, hey, to use that Hunter's Fury, Dallas, I've got to stand still. My teammates can't walk through this alley because they'll get hit by my Hunter's Fury, and they're hesitating to push through. Boise State maybe needs to be a little bit more decisive, but Stony Brook, their guns are doing it for them. They're shouting louder than words could ever do, and those muzzle brakes, nothing's breaking besides the skulls for Boise State. It's 6-1, and Boise has to figure out what's going so wrong.
I do feel like that Gunny was a bit maybe of a Butterfinger situation. I mean, the sitting towards the back had the idea but still no players pushed off the back of it. That didn't seem like a call being made by either Gunny or anyone else. That was Gunny saying, oh, it's out. And everybody was saying, well, then, okay, great. We're not pushing that, though. It's one of those things where you can either create somewhat of a kind of obstruction of the battlefield that's unfolding in front of you, or whether or not you can actually just do some damage and cut off some angles while players are pushing, knowing they're being forced out and they're kind of in the middle of walking and can't aim straight. But it wasn't either one of those. It was nothing. So compared to what we saw on the other side, a designated kill, a designated deterrence, and, well, a round result off the back of it. But speaking of results, we see 2 duelists off the field that sure could hurt Stony Brook a little bit more, but look at the damage done. Boise State is at the deficit here because, well, Gunny just took a little bit too much damage in the process. With a neural theft and a From the Shadows available, these guys are good at rotating.
Diamond just wipes out Abel. These players for Stony Brook right now, it's a little bit odd for them to take that long angle and ace so many times, and a wise decision from Boise State to go for 2 down long instead. That leaves you to guess, where's that second player that got away surviving for the refrag from Stony Brook's first? Well, they're still there. They don't expect it. Abel pays the price. Now you're down that player. Stony Brook have plenty of options. Information is given thanks to the From the Shadows by Boise State's Daimyo, but now they're trapped in the back of sight. Skelesis is trying to keep this teammate alive. And you do see them up above with that shrouded step, but Majestic is so darn mobile. 2 versus 1. If there's a player to do it, you'd almost kind of expect it here.
Wow.
But Skies has an operator, and that thing finesses just around the bend, nearly curves it. And it's 2 now to Boise State.
I genuinely thought there was a shot. I mean, knowing Majestic and seeing what the guy was doing earlier with those guns, sure it was an operator as well, but I mean, considering that's not an even matchup in terms of weaponry, then, I mean, unfortunately, that's what you're looking at. And even then, looking at things with what's in front of us right now, the 2 Omens, exactly the same in KD ratio. I mean, Daimyo, obviously, I mean, kind of stepped a bit later, has more assists because, well, he knows how to make that impact. Majestic, not really firing on all cylinders like we're so used to seeing.
Yeah, controls play a little bit more passive of a role when it comes to this map.
Yep.
You have 2 controllers for Abyss, and so you can see that Astra play a little bit more the Mega Mind, leading the team, captaining up and championing essentially their strats. The Omen can play a little bit more active and direct. You see those From the Shadows, the Shrouded Steps being super aggressive. It's the opposite here. Maybe a little bit more passive, and trying to rely a little bit more so on the team to upbring them. But that first blood of that operator, that's what you want to see on C long. And now the dimensional drift comes out, the VTOL for Boise State. They didn't get a KD kill streak for it, but you do have Skies you can rely on instead for it. Hit fire galore. Master with the Bucky tries to get Majestic off, and they'll have to rely once again on Skies to do so. But all the damage was done by that Bucky. Don't worry, Majestic. We saw it wasn't just the boomstick doing it. Master was the real problem for you. Boise State get 2 in a row for the first time we've seen in this map, and maybe are finding their way back into this one. We could still conceivably see a 6-6 half.
We most definitely could. I mean, Boise State was able to go ahead and manage 4 in the first half of the last map. So, I mean, in this one, it's not without a doubt. I mean, there's a possibility there. I mean, they only need 2 more on top of that, and then, well, there you go. So, I mean, seeing what they've done thus far, good looks for them. Waking up a little bit. Timeout did them absolute wonders. But, I mean, everything beyond that with the neural theft in hand, look at the Stony Brook and seeing what they're kind of starting to come up on. You just got to see how you can really start regulating these guys, how you can start really monitoring them a little bit more. And I think they've been doing a great job of that. I mean, the rotations have been there. I mean, they've been making sure to kind of be a little more to a T. But Stony Brook also hasn't been nearly as active on the attacking side, I would say. I mean, they look good on the plants. I mean, they've been very consistent in getting those down. But the post plants is where we saw them struggle in Abyss. But, well, on defense, keep in mind, they never really had to worry about that because they weren't putting the spike down. But talking about downrange shots. Master finding one. Tony getting another. Majestic on top of that. Stony Brook making sure that they are opening up hot on this one.
Yeah, and guess what? With that neural theft, Stony Brook should know that Skelesis is there. Rook is a little slow in the draw, but Gunny's there for the refrag, but can't survive the next fight against Koss. But your doppelganger, Tonka Tough, gets the job done. 3 rounds for Boise State. They want to get 4, and now it's all in the hands of Skies up above in heaven. A wraparound coming through. Now halfway up that stairwell, Skies could turn for it. Sees the one player there. Rechamber, and it's just enough time for Majestic to swing with that stinger. And it's no chance for more. Last one there. 7 now for Stony Brook. And that is a round that you take speed at its finest. You don't have the weapons, Dallas. Push it to the limit, even if you lose that first blood. Boise State started to do it. Now Stony Brook have taken a page out of their book.
I mean, can you blame them? Seeing when things are starting to work, no. I mean, go ahead, just find something to dismantle that, even if just for a singular moment. I mean, that one round, you've already afforded yourself enough of a leniency and leverage to find yourself that 6-7, so you got a guaranteed advantage on the half, and they didn't even have that in the last map, keep in mind. So, I mean, that's going to be something that's going to really be plaguing Boise to some extent, knowing that, I mean, sure, on the defensive end, it was, you know, Rookie is doing great, sure, but, I mean, look at the other duelists in hand. You got Master there with that Yoru, the other Yoru that's there to play. But, I mean, you got to see what's going to happen on that attacking side. We haven't seen too much of a Blade Storm play just yet. We haven't seen too much out of these Jets. It's been nothing but operator play. So there's a chance for that Vandal and that Phantom to really start spotlighting.
Still worried initially for a while there, and it's a good way to keep Boise State distracted and honest with the B side. But the player did Shrouded step up onto the boxes behind him in that dark cover. Not the case, though. Skies Blade Storm kind of goes wrong. You're able to get the classic right clicks up for some damage. Skelesis is very low. Maybe Rookie could get a little bit of tag damage off of the kill, but it's all a distraction on this C site. It's an A site take. Spike is down, and now you've got a player of Rookie, this Neon, that is so fast and agile that can be a thorn in your side with no real clue about how to retake this and get into it. Neural Theft is a good choice here for Boise State if they can get a hold of the body. The Hunter's Fury is on a good way as well. But Stony Brook say, we'll pop a Hunter's Fury, distract in as well when the player's down below. We'll rush out through that hall and secure ourselves a frag or two. And Tonka Tony does just that. Skelesis, 15 HP. And it's turned to a nightmare. Last round now coming in of this first half. And Stony Brook had not only guaranteed they go positive, they very well could go 9-3. But it will be full weapons for Boise State. Just a little bit lacking in some of the armor department.
I mean, that's just a crazy thing when it comes around to halves. So, I mean, where you talked about 9-3, let's look at the middle. I mean, even then, from 7-5 to 8-4, you go from a 2-round difference to double the entire score. So, I mean, it's insane to know that. I mean, obviously, as I said, they afforded themselves this leniency earlier, that breathing room where, honestly, you see some teams perform better once they find that lead, and don't really get complacent about it. They just know it's like a tactical breather. Mentally, to say so we can slow things down, we can kind of adjust some stuff here and there, we can start taking some notes and see what really starts to cripple these guys. And Boise State are seemingly a team that can be crippled from what we've seen thus far. Knowing all the kind of pieces of utility going out right now, though, Boise State is making a last-ditch effort at the entry of this A main, trying to get something to work. And they definitely found results, but they haven't killed everybody, so there's still a job to be done, but there's still a comeback that can be made.
Stony Brook at a player disadvantage, something that they've not really had to deal with for a lot of these rounds. Boise State have been slow to get these first bloods. They've been good at closing.
Yep.
Flank by Skies leaves Rookie waiting, watching perfectly. And the crosshair placements have been nice for Stony Brook as an understatement. Boise State had a couple problems with that on map 1, and still that scoreline was so darn close. That's the back and forth we kind of expected for the very first map of the series. Now Stony Brook, though, have created a lead. They're quite far ahead. And this A-site plant in the very last round is going to force Boise State to lose time in this post-plant break to get on over there. And they don't want a full sprint, Dallas. It takes only 9 seconds to get from one side to the other, but you got to do that while running. They can't do so to make that noise. It's a lineup, but Gunny is only able to sneak the frag back to Skelesis. Koss was watching, too slow to save their teammates. Now is remaining on site. Can maybe go for this defuse. This is a spot where a wallbang could be a problem. Rookie making noise, sliding past, and it's 3 to their name. 9 rounds for Stony Brook, Dallas, and a half that is easily theirs for the taking.
Waiting for right after that half, waiting for the player to get antsy, thinking that, okay, within a 1v1 situation, it's one of those mental games, or are they going to go for the over-rotate? Are they going to really commit to this? And who knows? And, well, Rookie says, I'm Neon. It doesn't matter whether I'm rotating. It doesn't matter whether I'm standing still. By the time I rush you, it's probably going to be too late because, well, I'm sprinting full speed at you. So a 9-3 half is an outstanding testament here from Stony Brook of what they can accomplish, especially following suit with them winning map number 1. Really looking to go ahead and close things out, double things down here, and get this game done with. But, I mean, Boise State, they are not out of the woods just yet. This game is not over, and they still have, obviously, tough tasks in front of them. But, I mean, they find themselves, too. I mean, all it starts is just this first round to accumulate that and find themselves a nice little bit of area to work with. Because keep in mind, every eco they've been in, I mean, it has been very, very close calls. The last one was a bit of an exception, but the couple before that, they've made it down to a 1v2 situation where it looks feasible. So, I mean, they can clutch it up right here. They just got to lock it in. They got to kind of slow things down. They got to understand what they're working with here. And better yet, I got to see whether or not we can really see Skies pick things up and just kind of go ballistic on this half, because the attack looks good out of them, but the defense always looks marginally better.
Slow peek up for Abel, but Skelesis was also not really well equipped in the weapon departments. Stony Brook, this Neon, I hate to say it, but the ability to close the gap, the ability to be hard to hit, it worked for Dez spectacularly yesterday, and it's playing so perfectly in the back pocket of Stony Brook. I think Boise State may want to look to maybe employing this instead for Skies, and Skies is a very good jet. Let's not lie here, a spectacular jet player, but we need to see that mobility and the ability to change up the game plan on the fly with that speed, and really, I guess in a field where everybody is consistent gunners, force them to be inconsistent and change up the way that they have to aim, which is one of the draws for that Neon. A double stack, high and low. Rookie, though, isolating Skies. Maybe the chance to do with Master baits out that they would go for the slide as Tonka Tony comes through B and sees Master waiting. Double digits, Dallas.
Yeah. And this is one of those things where we're talking about checkpoint chokeholds too much. I mean, even though we did see Boise State answer back in the second round of the half in that last map, this is not the same map. I mean, this is Haven. This is something completely different. I mean, this is where you look at range, and sure, the Sheriff's going to be something, but I mean, you're either rushing A or rushing B here, because I mean, if you're looking at C, you got 2 players allocated towards garage more than likely. I mean, we're not seeing that definitively, but I mean, that's just kind of a mentality, a little bit of a mental hold, saying that if it's a possibility, it's too big of a risk. But you can still invest towards the middle, kind of chance something there, and there you go. Play that close quarters. B is pretty close. The garage is pretty close. A, it's a bit of a 50-50, but already you can see it right here. They managed to find that gap closer. They managed to get on site, so can we see the angles come through? Because Rookie's already found one, and there's a pixel showing through into that garage, so good there for Skies to understand that maybe I shouldn't be sitting.
Ooh, look at the speed from Boise State. They know they have limited weaponry, so they want to take advantage of what they have. And Stony Brook
slapping here,
just trying to fall back.
They're just gone.
Oh my goodness, and the flank, the ability for Abel to stay unseen for so long just buys enough time for the rest of Stony Brook to step through courtyard into B and fight on site. And Stony Brook doesn't need to care that you're dropping the weapons out of their hands. Boise forced. They went with weapons. They're also going to be just as worse for wear coming into this round. This is the perfect spot for Stony Brook to be sitting in because they could continue to bring out heavy-hitting weapons like Guardians, like the Outlaw in Abel's hands, because they know the shots hit. That's likely going to be all she wrote.
Unfortunately, I mean, it's a gamble that was there, had a great start. I mean, your hand, you hit the table, hit, and you're looking at 17, saying that this is something. We're there towards the end, but then you end up busting because, I mean, seeing how it's going there, Stony Brook, they're the house. They always win. It's looking like so far. I mean, shots being there, lines being drawn. I mean, making sure that Boise State cannot cross the threshold that they set. And, well, looking at the weaponry for a round like this and you're lining up on A main, yeah, things look even worse for wear.
Abel still sticking this, wants to have that Outlaw shot connect, but thankfully not really verbose and weaponly as the Boise State side for that range and distance. Majestic with the Guardian, it's not just Daimyo that gets removed, it's Gauze also being terminated. 12-13 is our score right now, Dallison. You know what that means? It's match and series point for Stony Brook, and there is a huge 9-round difference between these rosters, and we're just now seeing Boise State with proper rifles, and they still have players lacking in the weapon department. Master with a shotgun, Skelesis with a Spectre. This is tough, and I'm not talking Tonka tough, though that player has been on the tip of my tongue the entire time. Stony Brook have every player staying consistent. Look at that scoreboard, 14-14 with 3 players of 13. Everyone is participating.
I mean, that's what you want. There was definitely a larger sign of unison out of Stony Brook during match number 1. I mean, that's also kind of shown here. But it's things like that, but we've seen it now squeaked out for 2-3 rounds back-to-back where we see Stony Brook get themselves, not a free first blood, but just something that's just so cheeky, so ridiculous when you really kind of look at it and unfold in front of you where you're saying that shouldn't happen, but since it did, I can't really complain. It makes sense. So, I mean, on a match point scenario, though, for Boise, I mean, it's just infuriating, I bet.
It's not a free first kill, you know, but it's an expensive first death, right, for Boise State.
Right.
If they were to try to refrag that, they already made it nigh impossible. The dark cover's there. They can't really fire through. They'd have to push too hard, too fast. They just wouldn't be equipped for it. It's a cost they couldn't bear. And now they're stuck in a spot where they want to go down C long. They know Abel is still there, and if the shot hits, the shot hits. But the Randall has been traded, and that's where Abel just goes, I can do it as well with a rifle. You don't got to worry about it. Master just appears in a solid factor in front of me. Both players step up with the shrouded step on top of Jin, but it does not matter. Stony Brook, 13-3, the final tally. And we were kind of touching on Daimyo for a little bit there, saying, hey, you're sitting bottom of the leaderboard right now. What's going on for this? Everyone at the end was exactly the same, practically. Abel was just... she was just a monster to close things out, right? But everyone said, okay, first half was good. We really closed it out there towards the end. Stony Brook says, the second half, that was so nice. We want to do it twice and just 2 times as best a performance, as clean as it can be, and a very well-deserved victory for them.
I mean, almost 3 times better performance. I mean, when you look at obviously 10-3, they had a third of the score there to work with. But, I mean, knowing that, I mean, what we saw Stony Brook do, I like the flexibility of them. I mean, we talked about unison. We made that note to them there towards those last couple rounds. I mean, that was something they really just kind of exclaimed to the entirety of the series that really was showcased for me. And obviously, you had some players really tearing things up. You had these spotlights. I mean, like we saw Majestic, but I mean, it was at the point where Majestic's not really looking too hot on this map so far, but then you got Abel there. You got Rookie there just kind of doing the things. And I mean, Rookie also had a very slow start, all things considered, being in Neon, where, I mean, ironic as is, but still able to catch up. Once again, as punny as that may be. I mean, seeing how things are going, though, I mean, Stony Brook was able to kind of make sure to maintain themselves as a group, and seeing Abel go from that Astra over to that Yoru shows the flexibility of the squad, saying that we don't really think of ourselves in roles. We just think of ourselves as one team, that we just kind of want to play with different kits when the opportunity presents itself. Because so long as you're traveling together and playing together and have that kind of
Congratulations, Boise State, for coming this far, putting on a ridiculously solid map 1 and
Yeah.
playing their heart out on map 2. They made sure to show that they can, in fact, compete with a team like Stony Brook, but Stony Brook
Right.
comes out the victor. And with the victor come the spoil, and the spoil here is an interview as well as tallying up and joining up the other teams that managed to find their 1-0 stat. Let's go ahead and welcome in Abel to say hello, everybody, and show off just how good
Hello,
looking they are. Hi, Abel. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How about
Good.
you?
Okay, perfect. All right, there's a little bit of delay. No
Matching
worries.
ear cushions, no way.
Oh my goodness, you're matching with Dallas. This is adorable. We'll digress. We'll get into it. Your map 1 performance on Asher was really darn good, but Boise State actually did manage to pull off a really close map, all things considered. Were you guys surprised with how close they were able to keep that game for you guys?
I think we were pretty confident in our abyss, but I was definitely surprised for like with some of the things they were doing. Like they were like very aggressive on like certain areas of the map, which I wasn't expecting. But I think we figured out like, like where their holes are and we like overcame them on attack.
I mean, considering you mentioned being confident in your abyss, y'all had to be even more confident in your haven. Looking at the result of that map, consider. I mean, you guys. I mean, you specifically, obviously, being on the Astra inside the abyss, and then moving over into the Yoru on the likes of Haven. I mean, not only just you as specifically, but I mean, we try to make a testament to your team and how flexible everybody was. Do you feel like that's kind of a consideration for your team? For like, does everybody genuinely feel accepted in any kind of role that they're willing to play, and you'll just work more as a singular unit with different utility rather than different roles? Or are you guys actually kind of pre-mandating everything and saying, all right, this is just what I want to do? And well, you make those kinds of shifts because I mean, controller to duelist, that's like an IGL going to a point where you just turn your brain off.
Yeah, so I think me and my team already discussed this. We don't believe in like set roles for each person. I feel like
There you
each
go.
person for like whatever map and whatever play style they want to play, they can play different roles. So like before the school started, I was like only playing duelists, but last semester I was like only playing smokes. So this semester on some maps I'm on smokes, some maps I'm on duelists, and then it's the same
Right.
for like Majestic on our team. Some maps he's on chamber, some maps he's on like a Viper lurk role. It's like whatever we
Right.
prefer on that map.
And as a follow up to that, I mean, do you feel like in some of the teams that you play, I mean, Boise State as well, do you feel like there's a bit of a kind of a stature that they present to you in terms of like their roles? I mean, because obviously you guys say you don't really feel that pressure or feel like that kind of allocation of positions. Is it relatively predictable for other teams when they start kind of playing these particular points and kind of stationing themselves in different areas of the map? Does it kind of make things a bit too standardized for y'all at times where you're like, okay, we know who's going to be sitting where, and it's going to make things just easy as a book to read going forward?
Yeah, so on Abyss, we weren't expecting their aggression mid a lot, but then we figured out that they're like very aggressive. So then on Haven, we knew they're gonna like walk down a lot of areas. So that's why we like, we recleared A, we recleared like mid, we like just recleared as a team, and like because we just
Right.
know like someone's gonna be pushed up.
Was that the big difference maker for you guys on Haven? Was just reading it how they played, Abyss and just counterplayed that same strat for Haven? Was that the reason for the big, round differential?
Yeah, so as soon as we saw two duelists again, we knew they're gonna play similar to Abyss. They're just gonna like walk down areas of the map. I personally like really like the double duelist comp, so like I know that I would like, walk down like mid or something, and we're just ready for that.
Anything you can do, I can do better, is what I'm hearing right now from you, Abel, right? You employ the strategy, so you know how to counter the strategy. That's a pretty effective way to do it. And effective is really the name of the game for you guys on map 2 in comparison to map 1. Very close endeavor. We thought for sure we would see a third map in the docket for us, and would have been a fun one, I think, for sure. But you guys were tired of it seems like. Wanted to go get your rest on or go hang out and get dinner afterwards or something. Map 2 is a pretty good one for you guys. But with that being said, do you have anyone you want to shout out? Family, the rest of the team, anyone, any member or director behind the scenes? I'll give you the chance to do so here.
First and foremost, I want to shout out, the rec and the VP for it as well, because I think this wouldn't be possible without them. And I also want to shout out my team. We've been putting in a lot of hours for scrimming and stuff, and I think this victory is like only the start.
Start of things to come. Well, we appreciate that, Abel. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll say goodbye to you for now, but it's been an absolute pleasure. See you, Abel. Well, Dallas, that has been, I think, the only series we actually have on the docket today for Division 1. We had a doubleheader just yesterday, a single one today, and I think there is, in fact, one tomorrow as well. I'm going to double check that since I do actually have the scheduling sheet.
It's only just today.
Just two? No, yeah, just one tomorrow. So a single matchup tomorrow, and that is West Virginia versus St. Clair. And WVU is a team that actually won CVAL South just this last year. And St. Clair is a team that they'll have names you recognize here, Dallas, from Cumberland, both Waddy and JP that stepped into their roster. And they were already a ridiculously talented team in the first place. That is a team that will be very scary to think about. So the dark horse that we kind of joked about in the Tilt Proof podcast of WVU, can they pull it off against St. Clair? Time will have to tell. You're going to be in good hands, though. Ancient Ada Leonard's Cast will carry that one for you. But with that being said, that's it for me. Infernosis, joined here by Mick, a.k.a.